Facebook Live family, and Elliot Andre, the head therapist, is back. I have a repeat guest today, first time ever. Hey, Jennie, what's happening?
Hi.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for being here. Super stoked. By the title, friends and family, you can see we are definitely going to be talking about some controversial information today. Jennie, but do you really talk to spirit guides? And when I say that, how does that resonate with you? Because you came on the show last time and you stated that you take spirit guides into your practice very seriously, and it's something that you do and provide that to people. So do you really talk to them? And what does that look like? How do we do it? And let us know what that's been like for you.
Okay. Well, I guess an easy place to start at would be kind of the beginning of my own personal journey with talking to spirit guides, and then we can kind of maybe talk a little bit about how it's developed for me, or how my relationship with it has developed over time. So I think I mentioned in our last interview, and by the way, I did not know I was the first repeat guest, and thank you. I'm
rock!
Very honored.
Could be.
And the pressure's on. But so I think I mentioned in the last interview that we did that I didn't really grow up believing in spirit guide communication so much. I mean, I did believe that some people could do it, but I didn't think that it was, something that anyone could do. And of course, now my thinking on that has really changed drastically. But so I started doing Reiki trainings 3 or 4 years ago, and once I did the second level of Reiki training, all of a sudden I was receiving messages. I would just get like a flash of a picture in my mind, and I knew it wasn't really something that I had made up in my own imagination or my own conscious mind at all. Or maybe I would get a phrase or a word that I knew same. It just felt like it was given to me as a message, as opposed to something that I had made up. Sometimes I just had a knowing about something. And so all of this started happening, and I called up my Reiki teacher, and I was just like, help me, what's going on? This is crazy.
Help!
Yeah, help, right? Like, because it's like in the movies, right? In the movies, we'll see like a regular person going about their day, and then all of a sudden there's like, a ghost, and they're talking to them, and what's happening, and it's scary. And so my messages weren't as clear as the movie characters get theirs. But so there was something going on, and I knew it was interesting, and I knew that it could be something maybe that would be helpful for my clients, because it was happening in conjunction with offering Reiki to clients and to friends and family and to myself.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
What, if you can remember, what was the first message or flash that you got, and how could you describe that to the viewers out there, what that felt like to you?
I can't remember specifically what the first one was. It's a great question. I wish I could remember. I wonder if I have it written down, if I look back in an old journal. But it was just, so I can't remember specifically what it was, but I remember it was when I was working with a client. I remember that. And I just had this strong feeling, like an intuitive sense, right? And so like anybody, whether we've talked to spirit guides or not, or if you're a Reiki practitioner or not, everybody knows what it's like to have sort of just like an intuitive hit about something, right? And just sort of a knowing. A gut feeling is what a lot of people call it, right? And so I just had this really strong gut feeling that this flash of a picture that I had in my mind was important and was a message that was being given to me, as opposed to something that I was making up, and that it was something I was supposed to communicate to my client.
Sorry, go on.
Oh, I was just going to say, I don't think I did communicate it to the client.
That's just what to ask you.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I was just like, I don't know what's happening. I'm not going to say anything for fear of saying the wrong thing or looking foolish or, looking like, I don't know, a charlatan. Because what if I said, oh, I'm seeing this weird image. Does this mean something to you? And what if my client asked me more questions about it and I didn't know how to answer those, or,
Absolutely.
So I had nervousness around it. So I called my teacher up and she suggested I take some classes at Psychic Horizon Center here in Boulder, which I did. And so through taking those classes, I developed a lot of confidence in being able to not only believe that the messages that I was receiving were actually messages and were not just, figments of my own imagination. And also to be able to tune into those messages intentionally, as opposed to just having them happen kind of willy-nilly, and to turn them off when it's not convenient for me to be receiving them. And to be able to use them for people's benefit, because that was really always my chief goal. How can I, okay, great, this is happening, but so what? What am I going to do with it, right?
Always the so what, yeah.
Yeah. If it's not for someone's benefit, then who cares?
How often are you, right? Yeah, I mean, if it's not for me, if it's not for them, what are we doing here? How often are you receiving these messages? How intensely are you? How intensely are you feeling these messages? How does it affect you? What does that look like on a day-to-day basis? Because you said you could turn them off and turn them on, so it seems like it's something that's always present.
Well, for me, for some people, I've heard that they are kind of always present. Some people don't have control over them, and I don't know if that's because those people haven't learned how to have control over them, or if it's just because all of our gifts present in different ways, and it's just an individual thing. But for me, I don't get. It's very rare, I should say. Once in a while, I'll get a message without asking for it, but other than that, I invite. Like, let's say I'm working with a client, I'll ask my client to invite their guides to the session. And from there, I'm able to start receiving messages. I also have some, meditative and, visualization techniques that I take myself through in preparation for being able to receive these messages. If I'm, if my mind is really crowded, with a lot of my own stuff, then it's going to be really hard to recognize the messages that are coming through. I really have to clear my own energy in order to be able to receive.
How would you clear your own energy?
Well, I have several different techniques that I do that I learned in school. It'd probably take too long for me to walk you through all of them, but basically. But yeah, I could tell you about one of them that everyone can do, and I love it. It's really, really useful. It's called the grounding cord. A lot of your viewers might have already heard about the grounding cord technique. You imagine that you have, and I'll just kind of go through it quickly.
Please.
You imagine that you have some sort of cord that starts at your root chakra. We talked about the chakras last time. You don't even know where your root chakra is. Just imagine that there's some kind of cord that's energetically going from your body all the way down into the center of the earth. Okay, and this cord, it can look like anything. The more playful, the better, right? Because our energy flows more easily through ease and playfulness than it does through like rigidity. So sometimes my grounding cord looks like an animal's tail, and the animal varies depending on the day. Sometimes it looks like a fun slide that you go down on a potato sack, like at the state fair. Sometimes it's a spiral staircase and it's all covered in like beautiful flowers and vines. Sometimes it just looks like a cord, like on an old vacuum or something,
Picturing it. I got it.
Anything that will carry energy. And then you just imagine that all of the energy that you're holding on to right now that isn't serving you in this moment. So energy from people who you talked to earlier today that you picked up that you don't need. Energy from situations that you were thinking about. Energy from people maybe that you weren't holding their energy, but maybe they're holding some of yours, right? So there's still this attachment. Anyway, you just have the intention that any energy that you're holding on to that you don't need in this moment, let it just release down the grounding cord. And you can visualize it if you want to. You can visualize what that might look like. Sometimes we don't necessarily want to think about the energies that we're trying to release because they could have some sort of trigger associated with them, right? And so we don't have to go into those details. You can just have the intention that your guides, if they're there helping you, if you are familiar with them, that they're taking care of it for you, or just your intention is enough to take that energy through your grounding cord, out of your own energetic space, into the center of the earth. Let the earth have that energy back. Let it make something new out of it.
How easily is it for clients to get into that headspace when you're guiding them through that? I know saying easily is a very subjective thing, yet when I'm hearing it, you know, I'm just trying to picture that and like this cord, like I'm about it. I'm a therapist, like I've done my own mindfulness practice. I'm just thinking like trying to bring that into working with a client who doesn't really understand mindfulness or like what this idea of letting go of energy feels like. How would you portray that to them in a way that you could modify that idea for them? Does that make sense?
No, absolutely. Well, I will say first off that for the most part, everyone who's coming to me or any other practitioner of energy healing and spirit guide communication, intuitive reading, that kind of thing, they're already a believer. It's pretty rare that somebody who's not into this kind of stuff already is going to spend the money on a session.
Hey, let's be honest.
It's just true. And with that said, you know, sometimes people will buy their partner a gift certificate, and I wish that you would get into this kind of thing, right? And so then in those situations, and I have had clients who are sort of like, well, I consider myself an open-minded skeptic, is what people will say a lot of the time. And so for those people, I take them through it a little bit more slowly. We do some breathing techniques first. Their eyes are closed. I put on my, like, you know, my relaxation voice.
I've already heard it. I enjoy it. I love it. I've been a part of it. So I believe.
Thanks.
Yes.
And then I tried to give people a lot of examples, like in the same way when I was just explaining to you, like the energy that you're releasing might be from a person or it might be from a situation. People, you know, even if you're not used to thinking about energy and working with your own energy in that way, everybody gets that. Everybody knows what it's like to hang out with someone and later feel like you got to like brush them off, you know?
Yeah, go away. I can't stand you right now. or you're too much or too little or yeah.
So, I mean, I think that even though, you know, there are deeper esoteric concepts involved, there's always a way to explain it that anyone can grasp it.
Good.
And like I said, people who come to me for a session are wanting to grasp it.
Good. Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, what I've noticed from having the conversation that we had last time, and I told you this off camera, was there was people who wanted to know, viewers and all, like what this actually meant, what this looked like. And I think the title of this is like, does she really? Right. You know, for those skeptics out there. And to be honest, you know, I've known Jennie for a while now, and I've never gone to a session with her, but there's an energy, there's an essence of Jennie that I'm just like, I so believe in. I'm like, yeah, you got me, girl. You had me at hello, straight up. So if you could disclose a little bit about your own experience in guiding, you know, I know we talked about earlier in the show about, you know, it was a flash or it was, and you can't really remember like what that was like, but as you progressed through your own practice, what's come up? What have you seen? Who have you talked to, I guess? Who have you been able to connect with in your own practice?
Yeah. I mean, so our spirit guides take many different forms. I've talked to people's ancestors, you know, long past relatives, and I've talked to pets and, well, pets who have passed, and then also spirit animals, which are not necessarily, you know, somebody's pet. Like, for example, I have an owl as one of my spirit guides that helps me with my Reiki sessions. I've never had a pet owl, but I know that pets that I have had in the past are around with me too. And everybody, by the way, and people always love to hear that. And it's so true. Our pets hang out.
Always.
Yeah. And then, so yeah, departed pets, departed people in our lives, friends, family members. Then we also have, there's a concept called the soul family that we all have. And so this is an idea that we have kind of a family of souls that we travel with throughout lifetimes, and we serve different roles for each other in different lifetimes. So for example, you know, do you have somebody you consider that is like a soulmate of yours in this lifetime? Have you ever met someone that you feel like we've known each other in a past lifetime? Like we've known each other beyond just normal earthly realm that we're used to. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
So it could be, so if you're thinking of that person and like what your relationship is with them in this lifetime, it's possible that in a past lifetime, maybe you were their mother.
Me as a mother, I don't know how the hell that would look, but yeah.
Right?
This kind of scares the shit out of me.
Well, if you believe in reincarnation, then
Grandma L.
then we're not always going to be born as human. We're not always going to be
yes.
born with, you know,
yes.
gender or sexual orientation or any of those things.
Sure.
But so the reason that we serve different roles for each other with our soul family members throughout different lifetimes is to help each other learn karmic lessons that we need to learn. So, like, let's say in your last time, well, I don't know if I can be cool enough to come up with a great example.
Whatever feels right to you in this moment, we believe.
All right. Well, so let's say you had to learn a lesson, a karmic lesson, just about believing in yourself, right? And
can we back up real quick? And what's a karmic lesson? Because I don't think people know what that would mean. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
No problem.
So karma is the idea that everything we do creates a ripple, like, right? Every action, every thought, every belief, every action that we have in our lifetime, it's like throwing a stone into water. And then karma ripples that the stone creates, right? Okay. And so, don't believe those bumper stickers that, you know, say karma's a bitch, because
it's not.
It's not a bitch. Karma doesn't work like that.
Right. Thank you for clarifying.
Sure.
That's helpful.
So like some people will say, oh, well, if you're, if you do something bad in this lifetime, then something bad is going to happen to you. And that's karma. It's not really cut and dried like that. And so we have different types of karma. We have karma that we create in this lifetime. We also have karma that we carry from previous lifetimes into this one. My cat, can you hear her?
Yeah, I love it.
All right.
She's talking about karma.
She's singing her song, you know. So anyhow, so karmic lessons that we carry over from lifetime to lifetime, you know, maybe in a past life we had, like for me, for example, I've had several healers and intuitives that I've talked with who've told me that in past lifetimes I was a healer and I was persecuted in one way or another, depending on the lifetime, and that has created some, you know, angst for me, some imposter syndrome, or, you know, whatever, throughout my lifetimes. And I'm on this journey to like fully embracing my status as a healer, right? As I go. Maybe this lifetime will be the one. And so I probably had different members of my soul family play different roles in different lifetimes to try to help me get over that insecurity that I developed from those one or two lifetimes that I know about where I was persecuted for being a healer, right? Maybe somebody presented challenges to me. Maybe one of my soul family members was my enemy and presented challenges for me that I had to like rise up to, you know, to face.
That's
or
fucking
maybe
crazy. I love that. Go on. Sorry.
Or maybe it's okay. So then maybe it didn't work out that well. You know, maybe I did it, but I kind of like surrendered and, you know, still had my sheepishness and whatever. So then in the next lifetime, that soul family member played a different role, this time as a supporter, right? And gave me unconditional love and support to help me further along to learn that same karmic lesson. And until I learn it, I'm just going to have to keep being presented with it. And everybody can, here's another example, everybody can understand it in this way. Who, maybe you or someone you know just keeps dating the same freaking person, just like in a different body. Right? Like we just keep getting the same relationship issues over and over until we learn to not date that same type of person or not put ourselves in that same type of situation again, right?
I think that's an unbelievable way to express that. Like that, I think hits to so many viewers out there. Seriously.
Yeah, we've all been there or know someone who's been there and tried to help them through it, right? And so it's the same concept.
That's the same concept. I never even thought about it that way, but I love that you're bringing this to our attention. And see, people, we don't need to doubt Jennie. She really does talk to spirit guides, because the way that she just described that, honestly, just hit like a nerve for me. And many of my relationships with people or intimate or not, friendship even, what that looks like of seeing that person who you constantly are drawn to, and yet, not a good fit, whatever it may be, or even with working with a lot of my clients in the sense of who they are, connected to, bound to, their souls connected. I mean, they break up with one person. I've been working with somebody who's had like 4 or 5 relationships in the last year, and it's like this, in the way that this person's described to me, it's the same shit over and over and over again. And I'm keep on wrapping my head around it, like, how do we break this cycle? And I think I'm going to bring into session next week this idea of like, you are connected to this soul family. I think this person will definitely take to that and be like, oh, yeah. So thank you.
You're so welcome.
Yeah.
If your client's interested, there are lots of books that talk about the soul family as well. That might be really helpful.
Yeah, we'll link them down below.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I'll give a couple examples for you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
So let's hear about Jennie's soul family. Come on, bring it.
Well,
people connect to people who also experience these things. So if you feel like you would self-disclose some of that, other than your friend the owl, who else have you communicated with? Who else have you seen? What other patterns have you felt in your life that may be affected by the soul family, other than this idea of being a healer?
Yeah. Well, I mean, right in there with what the kind of, I guess, maybe everything happens for a reason. So the example that I gave before about, having to learn to have confidence in myself as a healer, right? Coming from a place of kind of being a non-believer to actually being a practitioner all of a sudden of what I wasn't believing in, right? How does that work? And so I have somebody who I used to work with, the owner of a yoga studio that I used to teach at, that wanted me to teach in his yoga teacher training. And I was just like, no, not qualified, not competent. And he just had this, like, his own intuitive gut feeling that I was going to be, a really good fit for what he needed. And he just sort of talked me into it. And I think that he was serving that role for me of being that kind of unconditionally loving supporter of me really blossoming into this role that I was afraid to take.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And I'm just forever and ever grateful to him for that.
Totally. And it seems like this person kind of propelled you into other aspects of your life, and even feeling confident in other things that you might not have been long-term.
100%. If I hadn't agreed to start teaching that yoga teacher training with him, I mean, maybe I would have gotten to where I am right now a different way, but it would have taken longer. I can say that for sure, because left to my own devices, I'm kind of a slow burn.
Mm-hmm. I know the feeling.
Give me a little push,
Right. No, I'm laughing because I think I experienced a very similar thing in the sense of starting a business. If I didn't work at the school that I worked at and then hired on by my parents to run their business, I don't think I would have ever had the confidence, know-how, or understanding of what owning a business is like at all. Mm-hmm. So for them to give me the push and say, yeah, join our business, see what shoes are like, see if you like them, you'll learn something. First I was like, hell no, like, I'm going to teach you everything that you need to know about the environment, sustainability, because that was my whole brain. That's where it was at. Right. And then through that, totally, I'm so grateful because, I have the business side of what Connected Roots is, like, in the back of my hand. And I don't think I would ever have had that if I didn't have that experience. So right there with you. Yeah. And that feeling and the push.
To have the push and also to recognize it for what it was and for what it did for you. It's really beautiful. Yeah. And it's funny, as you're talking, I'm thinking some people watching this video might be thinking, well, I mean, what's the point of thinking about these people in your life as the soul family? Like, who cares? Why not just think of them as like supportive people in your life? And I want to say that, like, you know what, if that's what works for you, that's perfectly valid. So we all experience, this whole world extremely differently, right? Like there's that classic example of like, well, if we were both calling, you know, a certain color blue, are we really seeing it as blue? You know, do you see the same thing that I see when we talk about blue, or is my blue your yellow, and all of that, you know, that kind of philosophical question. And I think that it's the same here, you know, like, do I really talk to spirit guides? That's how they present themselves to me. Would they maybe present themselves to somebody else as just a gut feeling or just common sense, even the messages that I'm receiving and attributing to spirit guides? Sure. Yeah. Somebody else might actually just think, oh, this is just common sense. I just would have been able to figure out this thing that somebody else is saying they received as an intuitive message. Right. And I just want to say for everyone, like, that's valid. You know, the way that my brain interprets the messages that I receive works for me, right? And it works for my clients. Do I absolutely definitively know that I'm talking to spirit guide, that I'm talking to my old cat, Francesca?
Yeah, you are.
It feels like I am. And I do believe that I am, but can I prove it? No, you know, I can't. And in our society that values science, that values the scientific method, and that values tangible proof so much, I always come up against people who want that kind of proof from me and will actually choose to believe almost anything other than the fact that I would actually talk to spirit guides. And you know what? I don't really find value in getting into arguments about it with people. I think that whatever works for you, works for you. And that's a beautiful thing, right?
It's a gorgeous thing.
Yeah. If any of us have something that works for us, that helps us to move through life with more ease and with, you know, a feeling of support and confidence in ourselves, I don't really care what anybody calls it.
Yeah, more power to, you know, the in my eyes, the push away from the scientific. You know, I firmly believe, you know, science is great. It's healed a lot of people. It's been there for us when we've needed it in terms of a lot of bad things and good things or what have you. Yet this whole idea of connectedness to ourself in a whole different way than what science has proved, I think has helped and saved me in a lot of ways. I think just instance, you know, for my own self is the connectedness to nature and how important that is to me. Yeah. You know, starting most of my days with my feet in the grass and really just feeling connected and grounded and what that looks like for me. I don't think there's no science behind it. Okay, maybe in some regards, the electrons and this and that and whatever.
The biggest nerve.
You know, right, exactly. But to me, it's just, it's like a ritual. It's something that I do, and it's something that gives me peace of mind to start my day every morning. So.
Yeah, and it's amazing. And I think people are expanding more and more and opening more and more to the idea that maybe we don't need to have tangible scientific proof for everything in order to believe that, you know, it has value. However, I think that along with that expansion that we're asking maybe the scientific people, the more left brain people to do, we also need to expand into, you know, acceptance of every approach, right?
Definitely.
Because how else can we come together if we're not all working towards coming together?
That's $1 million question, Jenny.
Yeah.
That might be another whole show going forward. How do we do it? With Jenny and Elliot, how do we do it? How do we solve this age-old problem, right? Of needing to come together. It's a tough one.
Yeah, let's get out of our heads and into solutions, right?
Right. Absolutely. Well, Jenny, honestly, this was so awesome. So glad you made your second round into the interview rotation. Loving it. Your presence is well respected and appreciated here at Connected Roots and what we're doing. I think one thing that we really didn't touch on, and I'll just say right away, is just having this conversation. I think we destigmatized this idea of spirit guides a little bit. And I think it's going to allow people that may have had, you know, some of those haters out there, people who were, you know, into what we were talking about previously, really, I think, change their perspective. So really super stoked on that for sure. Before we head out, Jenny, please let us know where we can find you again, any resources you have. And as soon as we post this video, I'm going to go ahead and get those resources you were talking about earlier.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely.
So much fun to talk to you.
Feelings mutual.
So, yeah, thank you. And then, yeah, for all the non-haters who want to find me.
All them haters at the door.
So yeah, you can find me on my website, owlwisdomhealing.com. I'm also on Facebook under the same name, Owl Wisdom Healing, and locally at the Boulder Healing Hub.
Fabulous. Do you want to give us a phone number or something people can reach out to you if they need to?
Absolutely. Well, for anyone who prefers to type it, you can just email me through the contact page on my website. And if you want to click a call or a text, it's 720-442-2439.
Awesome. Thanks, Jennie. We will talk soon. Head Therapist is out. Peace up, people. Talk to you later.